What's up, everybody? Going down this weekend, we got UFC 322, Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev. And in this video, I will be giving you my full card breakdown along with a prediction for every single fight on this absolutely stacked card, dog. Absolutely stacked, man. This is a true masterpiece here from the UFC. Amazing matchmaking. If I could describe this card in one word, that would be legendary. Legendary. Madison Square Garden. This is the type of card, man, that just gets everybody buzzing. You know what time it is, man. That's what I've been saying about this card. When people hear Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev, we all just nod in agreement and go, we know what time it is, man. We know what time it is. There's so much at stake in this main event, man, and it is such a dang good fight, man. High-level MMA. I believe that we are in for a real chess match in the main event between two incredible fighters, man. Absolutely incredible. Jack Della on a crazy win streak, going out there and beating up on Belal Muhammad to win the belt. Then we have Islam Makhachev coming up to the welterweight division, looked at as one of the greatest mixed martial artists of all time. If he could go out there and take this belt off of JDM, man, the GOAT talk is going to be very loud when it comes to the name Islam Makhachev. I cannot wait. Two of the best fighters in the sport, incredibly skilled. Cannot wait for the main event. I got goosebumps, dog. I'm so excited to talk about this, man. And then in the co-main, I know when we talk about WMMA, we're like, meh, right? But at the end of the day, this is a dang good WMMA fight, man. We got Valentina Shevchenko, one of the GOATs, going out there against another GOAT in Zhang Weili, who is moving up to Valentina's weight class, looking to win a second title. This is an amazing fight, man. Stylistically very intriguing. Both women are absolutely outstanding, clearing out their divisions. This is a huge fight in terms of legacy, and some big super fights could be on the horizon for the winner moving forward, man. Amazing matchup in the co-main event here. And then Leon Edwards versus the Nightmare Carlos Prates. What a banger in the welterweight division. And what an important fight, man. Leon Edwards looking to bounce back, right? Suffered 2 losses in a row. A lot of people have written Leon off, man, right? And I feel like you can't really do that at this point because this is a different kind of matchup, right? Carlos Prates is a striker. Leon's been in there against a bunch of grapplers. Interesting bounce back opportunity here for Leon, but he has a freight train coming at him in Carlos Prates, who I think is the most dangerous striker in the welterweight division and one of the most exciting guys to watch right now in the UFC. Big fight in the welterweight division. And then Beneil Dariush, he is back in action after going out there and beating up on Renato Moicano. He draws Beniot Saint Denis. Beniot Saint Denis getting another big opportunity inside the top 10 here against an established guy in Beneil Dariush. We'll see if Beniot can get it done this time around. Whenever he's had that big step up, he has not been able to pass that test. I'm curious to see if he could get through a very well-rounded and good grappler in the veteran Beneil Dariush. And then this fight right here, outside of the main event, I think this is my most highly anticipated fight right here. And shout out to both of these guys for taking the fight. And shout out to the welterweight division, man. These guys are showing everybody how it's done. They're not sitting around begging for title fights and sitting out being inactive. These guys are all willing to fight each other, man. And that is what is making welterweight the best division in the UFC right now, in my opinion. This is an absolute banger, man. Sean Brady, one of the most elite grapplers in the UFC right now, against just a real unicorn, man, in the welterweight division. And Michael Morales, the kid is a wicked athlete, super dangerous, young, explosive. I cannot wait to see how this one goes down, man. And then we got some other good fights on this card, man, but I've done enough yapping, trying to build this thing up, man. It is time to roll into our very first fight of the night here on Tapology, at least, and that is Vyacheslav Borshchev versus Mateusz Camilo. Recently added fight here, right? And it is very obvious here that Slava Claus, man, Christmas might come early in November, man. Slava Claus is going to walk out with a little Santa hat, right? And he's a fun guy to watch, man. Smooth kickboxing. His back is to the wall here, right? 8-6-1 as a pro. Hasn't been particularly great in the UFC, but what we know about Slava, man, he's going to go out there and he's going to look to strike. He's got very smooth striking, very, very technical. Everything comes from where it's supposed to. You know, he's got that kickboxing background. he is way better, in my opinion, than Camilo on the feet. The problem with Slava Claus is he has had a glaring hole in his game, and it's kind of crazy, right? Because you're training a Team Alpha Male, which it's like when you go there, it's like these guys that are strikers, they develop very, very sound fundamental takedown defense. It just hasn't really rubbed off on Borshchev, man. For whatever reason, it just hasn't. But at the end of the day, he's drawn some tough opposition since he's been in the UFC, man. There has really not been an easy fight for Vyacheslav Borshchev. I mean, his last, fights, 5 fights here, had that really competitive fight with Nazim Sadykhov. Goes to a draw. Nazim's very, very dangerous, man. Right? Goes out there, gets subbed by Chase Hooper, beats James Yontop, loses to Tom Nolan by decision, and then gets ran over by Terrence McKinney. But we know T-Rex is dangerous in round 1. Vyacheslav's back is to the wall here, man. It feels like they're throwing him to a prospect, hoping to get Camilo a win here. Don't write off Borshchev, man. He's a very, very good striker. His takedown defense, if it can hold up in this fight, I think he has a very good chance to go out here and get this one done, because I think if he loses, he's probably going to end up getting cut from the UFC. He's around. Like, people are like, why is Slava still around, man? Because this guy goes out there and he is going to look to entertain, man. Very, very smooth on the feet. And he's got this guy here in Mateus Camilo, right, who, Nobotov, he was at the, UFC 308 presser, I believe it was. He asked Dana to sign him, and Dana's like, you win your next fight, you're in. This guy, Camilo, ended up going out there and beating Nobotov, so Dana ended up giving him the contract. Comes into the UFC on his debut, chasing submissions, getting himself out of position, and loses to a very big Gabe Green, right? Remember, Gabe Green was a welterweight and, moved down to the lightweight division. So he ended up getting submitted, maybe some UFC jitters. I just haven't been very impressed with Mateus Camilo, man. He moves forward. He throws kind of reckless abandonment, right? Throws these big, wild shots to where I think Slava can tag him up all day long on the feet. However, I just can't trust Slava's ground game at this point, man. I'm going to be rooting for Slava Claus. I hope he bangs Camilo's ass up and can knock him out. And I do think that Borshchev is very live to get the KO in this fight. But I am going to side with Mateus Camilo to go out there and get this one done by a decision. He's not the greatest finisher, right? He's got, big power in his hands, big leg kicks. I think he's a little bit too easy to read for a guy like Borshchev, to where I think Camilo is going to resort to the ground game here. And I think his ground game is, from what I've seen on the regional scene, it seems to be decent enough to go out there, take down Borshchev, keep him down, threaten with submissions, maybe find a submission here, maybe he lands a big shot in a scramble or, an in-close exchange. I'm going to go with the young guy here, Mateus Camilo, to go out there, mix things together. I don't think he's just going to stand in front of Vyacheslav in this fight. I'm rooting for Borshchev. I hope he can get it done. His back's to the wall here. Love me some Slava Claus. I'm a sucker for a good technical striker. That is exactly what Slava Claus is, man. I don't know with the ground game, man. I think he might be in a little bit of trouble here against a almost 25-year-old Camilo who's looking to bounce back strong after getting kind of embarrassed by Gabe Green in the debut. I got Camilo, who was already preparing for a fight. Short notice for Borshchev. Camilo, I think, was supposed to fight a card or two ago. This guy's dialed in. He's ready to go. I got Camilo by a decision. Next, we have Chepe Mariscal versus Pat Sabatini. Now, I believe that this is a rematch, right? This fight, the first fight between the two took place, a few years back before the UFC, to where Chepe Mariscal edged that one out, right? And the thing with Pat Sabatini, he's just one of those guys that if he could get the fight into his world, he can cause a lot of problems for guys, man. He's got a very solid ground game, right? Seems a little herky-jerky and uncomfortable on the feet, but we know his game. He's going to use the striking to get it on your hips, get to the takedowns, and he's very good on the ground. Got a very, very good jiu-jitsu game. His wrestling is solid. But that's where he has to have this fight, man. And in this matchup, Chepe Mariscal is one of those guys that's just a dog, man. He's a workhorse. He's going to keep moving forward. He's going to test your durability. He's going to test your grit. He's going to give you a grit check. He's going to move forward. He's going to test that gas tank. And given what we've seen from Chepe Mariscal, I've been very impressed with this guy, man, right? Comes over into the UFC, right? He's been rattling off wins, man. Beat Trevor Peek, that's a good win. Gets the win over, with the verbal tap, due to an arm injury over Jack Jenkins. That's a great win. Jack Jenkins is very good. Beats Marvin Charrier in a very entertaining fight. Goes out there, beats Damon Jackson. Gets the victory over Ricardo Ramos. He's a well-rounded fighter, man. He's got a good jiu-jitsu game, solid wrestling. I think he's better than Pat Sabatini on the feet in this matchup, and that's what it's going to come down to for me. I think maybe Sabatini has, early success on the floor. I just don't see him submitting Chepe. I think Chepe will scramble. He'll threaten with submissions from the bottom. So I'm just going to go with the more well-rounded guy here in Chepe Mariscal. But Sabatini's good, man, right? I know he got finished by Jackson. I know Mariscal beat Jackson, so MMA math for you, right? But he submitted Lucas Almeida, who's, pretty solid. Goes out there, gets finished by Lopez. We all know how good Diego is. Submits JSP, who's a solid grappler, and then was able to control Joe Anderson Brito. So Pat Sabatini's very capable of winning this fight. I think that this is a gritty back-and-forth type of fight. But I think Chepe Mariscal is going to be able to threaten with subs from the bottom if he gets taken down. He's going to be able to scramble. I think he's going to put a pace on Sabatini, check his grit, check his, gas tank a little bit. And I think that Mariscal is the far better striker. I'm going to pick him to get this one done by a gritty decision, 29-28. I think Sabatini has success in round 1. And then we see Mariscal snowball and start to beat him up on the feet. I like Chepe. He's durable. He's tough, man. I'm going with the dog here, the workhorse. That is Chepe Mariscal, man. Next, this is a great fight, man. We have Malcolm Wellmaker versus Cody Haddon. Now, this was supposed to be Wellmaker versus Series City, I believe, right? And in steps Cody Haddon on short notice. I think this is a harder fight for Malcolm Wellmaker, right? Series City, a little bit of a different puzzle, right? Long, rangy, good footwork, long, rangy striking. That, to me, kind of played into the hands of Malcolm Wellmaker to where, Malcolm could time his entries, land a big shot. That kind of really suits the game of Wellmaker, a guy that's going to kind of play that kind of game. Now he draws a guy in Cody Haddon, right? And I'm very high on both of these guys, man. I think that these guys have bright futures in the UFC regardless of who gets this one done. But I was wildly impressed with Cody Haddon on the Contender Series. Goes out there, gets a submission over Billy Brand, and then makes his debut against Dan Argueta, who's a seasoned veteran, well-rounded, solid ground game, and he goes out there, pieces him up, and just puts on a full mixed martial arts display and gets the job done over Dan Argueta. I was very impressed. Right, and Cody Haddon's only loss in his career was to Steve Erceg prior to getting to the UFC. And we know Steve Erceg, fought for the title at flyweight, one of the better guys in the flyweight division. So if you're, a loss to Steve Erceg, not that big of a deal, man. Cody Haddon's very good. Solid boxing, good movement, good rhythm, good timing. He's got a solid ground game. I feel like we've seen more of his ground game at a higher level thus far than Malcolm Wellmaker, and that's where things get interesting because I think Cody Haddon's going to come into this fight. He's going to look to grapple, look to mix things up, but on the other side, you have one of the most dangerous prospects in the bantamweight division in Malcolm Wellmaker. This guy, since coming into the UFC, man, on the Contender Series, kind of caught the world by storm, man. Goes out there, starches Adam, with a nasty right hook, goes out there and beats the brakes off Cameron Simon, which was a super impressive win, going out there and stopping him. Then he goes out there and beats up and knocks out the incredibly durable, pressure-based guy in Chris Mutino, who was basically known for going out there getting beat up by O'Malley, but he started to kind of pour it on late in that fight because O'Malley wasn't able to get him out of there. That speaks to the power of Malcolm Wellmaker, man. The way that this guy times his entries, you cannot, recklessly move into range against Malcolm Wellmaker. If Cody Haddon does that, he's getting knocked out in this fight. I think this is a very competitive fight. I think early on, we're going to see Cody Haddon push the pace. He's going to look to grapple with Malcolm Wellmaker. I think he's going to try to mix up, the takedowns, strike, mix up the takedowns. I think he's going to try to turn this into a complete MMA fight. The problem I have in this fight is Cody Haddon holds his hands very low. And when he extends on his combinations, he gets a little bit out of position and he does drop his hands when he's entering range, when he's, backing out of range. That, to me, is a little bit of a disaster when you're going in there against a guy that hits as hard as Malcolm Wellmaker. So I'm going to say that Malcolm Wellmaker goes out there in round number 2, and he's got the launch codes, man. He's going to, lock in the missiles, hit the button, and it's going to be target acquired. And then here comes the right hook. Here comes the left hook. It's hard to see Cody Haddon with the way that he likes to scrap. It's hard for me to see Malcolm Wellmaker not landing a big shot on Cody Haddon as he enters range. And I feel like the big kind of elephant in the room is Malcolm Wellmaker's ground game good, right? And what I've seen on the regional scene, it seems to be pretty good. Got a couple submissions on his record. We haven't seen it in the UFC yet. I know Haddon's a good prospect, and he's been in the UFC, he's new in the UFC as well, but I feel like we have seen more from his ground game than we have from Wellmaker, so I still have some questions about Malcolm Wellmaker's ground game. I think it's a little bit better than what people might anticipate. I think he can scramble well. He can stuff the takedowns. Maybe gets taken down, but I think he pops back up to his feet. He's shown pretty scrambly, attributes in his game. I like Malcolm Wellmaker in this fight, man. I think it's a very competitive first round. I like both of these guys a lot. May the best man win. I just don't like how Cody Haddon, sometimes he's hittable, doesn't move his head the best, right? He kind of, when he drops his hands coming into range, that seems like a little bit of a disaster against a guy that's got bricks in his hands like Malcolm Wellmaker. Very high-level fight between two very game prospects. I'm going to give the edge here to Malcolm Wellmaker. I think that he gets a KO, but don't sleep on Haddon, man. I think he's very live to go out there and pull off the upset. Next, we have Roman Kopylov versus Gregory RoboCop Rodrigues. This is an interesting fight in the middleweight division, man, because both of these guys, right, RoboCop's been one of those guys, right, outside of this Jared Cannonier loss, he's really displayed just how dangerous he is, right? And he damn near knocked out Jared Cannonier in this fight, right? He beat the brakes off of him in round one. It was a 5-round Apex main event. And then we just saw RoboCop blow his gas tank, and he just had nothing for him, right? And then Cannonier, being the veteran and the dog that he is, put it on him, was able to knock him out. But outside of that, I mean, we've really seen a guy develop at almost 34. I can't believe that this guy's almost 34 years of age. He looks like he's 50-some years old, man. RoboCop Rodrigues, I need to see a birth certificate, dog. This dude being 33 is absolutely crazy. He looks old as hell. But the bottom line is RoboCop is improving. This is a guy that's got a very good ground game, solid jiu-jitsu skills, right? Training over at Kill Cliff FC, right? So he's working with Henry Hooft and those boys, man. I feel like he's really leveled up his striking game. He's starting to really understand how to be comfortable on the feet, throwing out the leg kicks, not just always having to throw these big winging power shots. He's starting to really set things up. And I think that makes RoboCop incredibly dangerous. And I think the best win, honestly, in RoboCop's career right now is this masterful performance he put on against Christian Leroy Duncan. Considering what CLD just did last night to Marco Tullio, that was absolutely spectacular. CLD looks like he's going to be a problem moving forward in the middleweight division. Look how well that aged, right? And Gregory RoboCop Rodrigues, he was taking CLD down, controlling him. We saw the full mixed martial arts display from RoboCop, right? Then he goes out there and knocks out Jack Hermanson with a scary left hook KO. And I feel like RoboCop clearly has the power edge in this fight. I'm just torn in this matchup because I feel like it's one of those things where Roman Kopylov, he looked like a deer in headlights against Paulo Costa. This was just an abysmal performance from Roman, man. I don't know if he was feeling the moment. I don't know if something was wrong with him. I don't know what the hell went on in there. He basically was having a staring contest with Paulo Costa while Paulo Costa's like, I'm just going to punch you in the face. And Kopylov wasn't doing anything. He was just standing there, man. It was very, very uncharacteristic for Roman Kopylov, but I feel like there's a method to getting after Kopylov, right? RoboCop has the grappling edge, can take him down, big, strong guy, dangerous power to scare Kopylov. And when you don't fight this pretty, tit-for-tat striking battle with Kopylov, I feel like you can make this guy work and you can put him in real danger. And I feel like RoboCop has all the attributes, right? I know he starts, Josh Fremd. Okay, not that great of a win though, right? Goes out there, gets subbed by Fluffy Hernandez. I mean, Fluffy's one of the best grapplers in the division. Outstrikes Cesar Almeida, right? Former Glory kickboxer, hasn't looked particularly great in MMA thus far, right? Gets the stoppage over Chris Curtis, in the last few seconds of the fight. That was very impressive. I just didn't like what I saw in the Costa fight, man. So I'm not going to write off Roman Kopylov in this fight, but I feel like RoboCop possesses all of the skills that you need to be able to go out there and beat Roman. I think Gregory RoboCop gets a stoppage in round number 2 in this fight. I think that he drops Kopylov with a big shot, takes him down, beats him up on the ground, and the referee has to step in and wave this one off, man. I think that RoboCop's fully really starting to tap into his potential, man. He's developing as a striker because remember, his background is a grappler. Big, strong guy. I mean, this dude is a unit at middleweight, man. He looks like a light heavyweight in there, right? Doesn't have the best defense to where I could see Roman going out there, maybe sparking him, playing ping pong, beating him up, man, just tagging him up and outscoring RoboCop and getting a decision win. Maybe he knocks him out. I'm going to side with RoboCop in this one, man. I think he's going to be busy. I think he's going to mix this thing up, and we've seen that Kopylov can very much be taken down. I think RoboCop mixes it up, gets the threat of the takedown in his head, clips him with a big shot on the feet. I got RoboCop getting this one done, man. If you can go out there and make Roman feel your presence with the danger, you have the grappling threat, I like RoboCop a lot in this fight, man. I think he goes out there and makes it ugly, and that is what Kopylov does not like. Give me RoboCop to go out there and get this one done. RoboCop's got more power than Costa. While Costa's a better striker, I think RoboCop's power is going to be a big factor in this fight. I think he's going to make Kopylov very hesitant. Next, we have Bo Nickal. Bo Nickal is back in action versus Rodolfo Vieira. This is a very interesting fight, man. This is a very interesting fight here because Bo Nickal's in a very interesting territory, right? He was this super hyped up prospect being shoved down the fan base's throats to where it basically started to make the fan base really not like Bo Nickal, right? And I feel like the UFC maybe is drawing it back a little bit. They had this dude on this main card, man. And then, they felt the heat, pulled him off the main card, which good thing they did that. Because I feel like that's some of the reason that people are really we're not liking Bo Nickal or don't like Bo Nickal or whatever. But the bottom line is people are questioning whether Bo Nickal is actually a fighter at this point. After that loss to Reinier de Ridder, a lot of people are saying, look, this guy's a great wrestler, he's a great athlete, but this is the fight game, right? He fought and, faced a little bit of adversity against a very seasoned guy in Reinier de Ridder who, went on to get a win over Robert Whittaker, even though had a dominant round one, didn't look good against Allen. Allen dominated him. We've seen RDR is pretty dangerous, man. Those knees are nasty. He's got a solid ground game, and it was very much way too much too soon for Bo Nickal. So now he's in an interesting spot, right? You can't really give him a can because he's a name, but you also can't just throw him back really into the rankings because I don't think Bo Nickal is ready for those guys whatsoever. And I'm kind of questioning, is Bo Nickal ever going to be ready for most of those guys, man? So now he draws Rodolfo Vieira. And a lot of people are going to say, woo, Bo Nickal's back in the win column. I don't think not so fast, man, right? Rodolfo Vieira, he has the ability to be a really annoying opponent here for Bo Nickal, right? Bo Nickal has outstanding wrestling, and I think he's got an underrated submission game, right? A lot of his victories, he doesn't have a lot of pro experience. Submitted Jamie Pickett, knocked out Val Woodburn, who's a can, right? Goes out there, submits Cody Brundage, but got shucked off. Chose not to grapple with Paul Craig whatsoever. Now, we've seen grapplers, right? They know their opponent has a dangerous guard. They don't want to go after him, whatever. I don't know that that's necessarily the case in this fight because Rodolfo Vieira is a very experienced jiu-jitsu guy, very high level, but in MMA, he's not the most dangerous guy off of his back. Rodolfo Vieira wants to be moving forward, wants to get busy with the jab, and he's actually developed a really solid jab, man. It's very educated. He'll put it in your face, he'll bust up the nose, the lips, swell your face up, affect your breathing. And we've seen him in some close fights, man, right? He goes out there, right, got beat up by Chris Curtis, displayed his durability, goes out there, subs Cody Brundage, which was impressive, subbed Armin Petrosian, right? And I thought he won this fight against Andre Petrosky. But again, you look at Petrosky and Nickal, I, see a little bit of similarities there, right? In the styles, right? So he goes out there, loses a close one there. It was really the calf kicks of Petrosky that got this one done. Then he goes out there and just puts it on Tresean Gore. We've seen more striking recently than from Rodolfo Vieira. His gas tank tends to become a little bit of an issue as the fight plays out. He's this big ball of muscle. We've seen his grappling is very good. I don't think he out-grapples Bo Nickal in this fight, man. I think the only success that Rodolfo Vieira would have with the ground game is if he's able to sting Bo Nickal on the feet. I don't think that happens. I think that he will be landing jabs, and I think that he's going to try to put Bo Nickal on the back foot. I think Vieira will come after the body of Bo Nickal, see if he can break him like RDR did. But I think Bo Nickal, he's ate his humble pie, man. This guy's almost 30 years of age. I think he needed some humbling. He's been a little bit more, you hear him in his interviews, he seems a little bit more locked in, a little bit just in a different headspace. I'm going to go ahead and say that Bo Nickal goes out here and wins this fight by a decision. I think that it's going to be a little bit one-sided, right? Maybe Vieira goes out there. I think Vieira's actually the cleaner striker. Bo Nickal's more explosive, but his striking isn't that good, right? I expect him to kind of fight very similar to what Petrosky did, switching stances, landing those calf kicks, because we've seen that Rodolfo doesn't even care to try to defend against a leg kick, right? Bo Nickal does have more power than a guy like Petrosky, so you never know, he could land one of those big overhands. He was able to outstrike Paul Craig. I don't think that Vieira is that much better than Paul Craig on the feet for what it's worth, but I feel like if we get into these grappling exchanges, I honestly think Bo Nickal can out-grapple Rodolfo Vieira in this fight. I think we see Bo mix it up. I think we see some striking. We see some grappling. I think he outscores Rodolfo Vieira to win a 30-27 decision. I think Bo Nickal gets back in the win column here, but I think it'll be a dominant victory, a clear 30-27 for Nickal, but I think that Vieira is going to be landing some shots, and he's not the easiest guy to take down, and if we get into these grappling exchanges, it can get hairy. Maybe Vieira can pull off a submission or something. Maybe he out-grapples Bo and shocks us. Maybe Bo is able to finish Vieira. But I'm going to say Bo Nickal goes out there, fights a smart game plan, mixes everything together, lands some big shots on the feet. He's young. He is explosive at times. I'm going to go ahead and say Bo Nickal, humble. Bo Nickal goes out there and gets this one done against Vieira. Big drop down from a dangerous guy like Reinier de Ridder. Moving on, we got Gerald Meerschaert versus Kyle Daukaus. This sucks, man. This sucks because I've been a fan of Gerald Meerschaert. I'm still a fan of GM3, man. I mean, I don't know how you cannot like GM3, one of the most prolific finishers in the middleweight division. I know it's crazy whenever we say that, right? When it comes to real submission aces in the UFC, really, and in the middleweight division, GM3 is one of those guys. But the way that Gerald wins a lot of those fights, especially towards the later part of his career, because he's pushing up towards 38 years of age now, is basically him taking an ass whooping and then pulling guard. You follow him to the floor. He's able to control your posture, and then he's able to turn it into a little bit of a grappling match. If you don't do that, Gerald Meerschaert is essentially a sitting duck on the feet. He's plotty, he's slow, he's got, penguin-like footwork out there. His striking is very odd, which sometimes it can give guys some issues, right? We saw, him submit Brian Barberena. This was a very impressive win, was getting the break speed off of him by Edmund Shabazian, and then was able to go, I call it the ghost of GM3's past, man. It's where GM3's getting beat up, and then all of a sudden, he works his way back into the fight and finds that finish, right? Goes out there. He was actually doing very well against RDR, was making GM3 look like a glory kickboxer, right? GM3's got some herky-jerky striking. It's muscled. It's not very good, but he was having success against RDR, then got submitted, right? Lost to Brad Tavares, and then he's coming off of a brutal loss to Michal Oleksiejczuk, where I figured that he was going to get knocked out early. I think this is going to look like the Michal Oleksiejczuk fight, unfortunately. And I honestly think that Kyle Daukaus, right, this is a guy that was in the UFC, got bounced from the UFC. It kind of reminds me of the Yusuf Zalal situation, right? You're not finding a ton of success in the UFC. Okay, so you're young, you go back to the regional scene, rattling off wins, man. And not just wins, finishing people, right? You call him the Darce Knight for a reason. He's got nasty submission skills, very good jiu-jitsu, right? Adding in some Darce chokes here, finishing guys on the ground, right? And then comes out here on short notice and shocks everybody, man. And then goes out there and makes easy work of a dangerous hurricane. That is Michel Pereira. Very unpredictable, very explosive guy. And Daukaus didn't care. Went right after him and knocked his ass out. I feel like that's what we see in this fight, man. I feel like Kyle Daukaus is going to go out there, and I think that he's going to knock out Gerald Meerschaert in round number 1. Now, I think that he's going to hurt him on the feet, and I don't think that Daukaus is going to be afraid to follow him to the floor. Then I think Daukaus postures up in his guard, rains down some big ground and pound shots, and we get a stoppage. So he may just knock him out on the feet, but I think he's going to club him, put him down, beat him up on the ground. Maybe he locks in a submission. It's very hard to submit a guy like GM3. This is going to be hard to watch, man, unfortunately, I feel. I really like GM3. Maybe, if there's ever a guy that could get beaten up, things aren't going his way, and the ghost of GM3 strikes again, maybe, but I don't think so in this fight, man. Kyle Daukaus is hitting his stride. I feel like the UFC booked this fight for a reason. Daukaus is making the most of his second run in the UFC, man. He's very good on the ground. I think he can hang with GM3 there. I don't think he's going to be afraid of the ground game there. I think he's much better on the feet than a guy like Gerald, who's very plotty, very slow. His striking is not good. It's sloppy. Daukaus, not exactly a knockout artist, but he's much better and quicker than GM3. Give me Daukaus to go out there and run over GM3 in round number 1. Next, we got Angela Hill versus Fatima Kline. I'm going to go Fatima Kline by a decision here. Listen, this is one of those where, sure, Angela Hill's been around the block, man. She's an OG. She's been around for forever, right? She's, back in, the tough, on tough, pushing 41 years of age, right? And Angela Hill, right? She wins a couple, she loses a couple, right? She is always going to be in the fight. And historically, Hill has been incredibly durable. She's a dog. She's going to keep moving forward. She's going to put the volume out there. And if you slow down with the output and you are not able to outland Angela Hill and you don't land those big damaging shots that you're looking for and you're not able to control her and win minutes, Angela Hill can sneak up on you and outscore you and put the points on the board. So that's definitely a possibility in this fight here. But given what we've seen from her over her past 5 fights, man, beat Denise Gomes, it was impressive. It was the volume once again, that crafty veteranness of Angela Hill, right? Goes out there, gets the submission over Pinheiro, loses to Tabitha Ricci. I think Kline can implement a similar game plan, right? Can grapple if she needs to, right? Goes out there, beats Ketlin Souza based on volume. Goes out there, loses to a good prospect in Lucindo. I feel like we're starting to see Angela start to fall off the cliff. Not a lot, but just a little bit. And when you're slowing down just a little bit against a 25-year-old Fatima Kline who has a solid ground game but is ferocious on the feet, man. Absolutely ferocious, right? Coming over from CFFC, she's dangerous, man. Finishing girls on the ground, beating them up on the feet. Loses to Jasmine Jazdavicius again, right? Big, strong Jasmine Jazdavicius. I believe that was up a weight class. Right, so Jasmine is an absolute savage, man, right? Super, good grappler, right? So no harm, no foul. Goes out there, starches Victoria, Dudikova on the ground, beating her up on the floor. Goes out there, nasty head kick over Melissa Martinez. I think she's really going to hurt Angela Hill in this fight. Wouldn't shock me if she KOs her, but historically we've seen Hill is very durable. I think her chin will hold up maybe, but I think she's going to take a big beating in this fight from Fatima Kline. Her ground game is good. If it's getting dicey on the feet, she's not landing that big shot. I think she can out-grapple Hill, push her up against the fence, win the control time. But that head kick's nasty, man. She's got a nasty question mark kick. She's very, very good. Watch for that head kick, man. I feel like if she lands that clean, she'll knock Hill out, but I think she's going to land the damaging shots. Hill will be busy, but it's not going to be enough to beat the more well-rounded, dangerous prospect and Fatima Kline. I'm not going to overthink this one. I'm going Kline by a decision. She might even get the KO. Next, we have Baisengor Susurkaev versus Eric McConico. My good friend, Mr. Seuss, man, right? You guys know that a good friend of mine is Mr. Khamzat Chimaev, right? So we know that Baisengor is close with Khamzat, right? If you know, you know, man. Good friends of mine. Baisengor Susurkaev is the real deal, right? I've been saying this before he got into the UFC. I've been following this guy, right? Fighting out of Chechnya, Russia. Trains over at Killcliff FC, I believe. Gets some training in with Khamzat as well. This is a guy where I don't want to say that this was a fluke performance because he still ended up getting the victory. I was very impressed with Eric Nolan. He showed up. He fought a very competitive first round. This was a case of a 24-year-old, almost 24-year-old Baisengor who has everyone telling him how damn great he is. Dana's up there going, I can't say his name, so I'm just going to call him Jimmy, right? So, and then, he's got, the hype. 4 days later, cutting weight again. Right after that impressive first-round finish on the Contender Series. Turns around, they get him on 319, which, all the hype for that card. They put him in the featured prelim. They had him on, at the press conference, man. That's how quick the UFC was trying to push this guy, man. And I feel like he was sipping his own Kool-Aid a little bit. I feel like the weight cut was a little bit of a factor, the adrenaline, everyone's telling you how damn good you are, man. And then you go in there sipping a little bit of Kool-Aid, man, rolling up, right? Rolling around with Adam Zubaria, buying suits, right? Showing up to the press conference feeling snazzy. I feel like he took Nolan a little bit lightly, man. He was laughing, having a good time in there, maybe a little bit of UFC jitters. I don't think he really felt him much in that fight, man. I feel like that was a fluke fight in terms of it being competitive. While I think Nolan's very good, I'd like to see him get another opportunity in the UFC, hopefully, because he took it on short notice as well. Had Baisengor hurt. Mr. Seuss is a next level type of fighter, man. This guy's very, very good. He's going to go out there and he's going to knock out McConico in round one. And listen, I think McConico is actually a very solid fighter since he's came into the UFC, right? He goes out there, gets starched by Nursultan Ruziboev on the Seattle card, but Ruzi's dangerous, man, especially at middleweight. Big, long guy, right? Knocked him out in the second round. No harm, no foul. Ruziboev's a sniper. Goes out there, beats Cody Brundage, but this was, I'm not going to say a robbery, but it was a dang close fight, man. And if you're going to a dang close fight with Cody Brundage, who looked tired and gassed and was running around on the back foot avoiding the fight, you're in trouble against Mr. Seuss, man. This fight is set up for Susurkaev to go out there and knock McConico out. McConico's got that southpaw stance, big kicks, solid boxing, decent ground game, trains over at the MMA lab, right? He's got a good camp behind him. It's going to take one brilliant game plan to go out there and have a chance against Baisengor, man. This guy's just very good, and he's a knockout artist. Holds his hands low, moves forward. Maybe McConico can make him pay for the hands holding low. I don't think so, man. Baisengor's got nasty front kicks, good boxing, good kicking game, throws him to the leg, body, head, sets things up well. But the crazy thing about him is as good of a striker as he is, he prefers to stand and trade. He can knock you out, but then also he has a world-class ground game that you saw him lean on in round two against Nolan, where he just dominated him on the floor. I think that's a real possibility if it gets a little bit hairy on the ground. Maybe Susurkaev just comes out, wants to prove a point, just takes him down, runs him over on the floor. I think he goes out there and knocks out Eric McConico in round number one at Madison Square Garden. And then the UFC is going to be posting the highlight everywhere. Social media, YouTube, the whole nine. Baisengor's for real, man. I've been high on this guy the whole time. And I think he goes out there. Good friend of mine, man. If you know, you know. I think he's going to go out there and starch McConico and make it look real easy, man. I like McConico, no offense, but Baisengor's on a different level, man. When you got the backing of Chimaev, right? You're training with Khamzat. His ground game's legit. I see him rolling around. This dude's next level, man. Complete fighter. McConico's in trouble. Next, we got Erin Blanchfield versus Tracy Cortez. I'm going Erin Blanchfield here by a decision. Now, these two women fought prior to the UFC. I think it was it Invicta or whatever promotion it was. It was before the UFC, and Tracy Cortez actually got the decision, right? But I feel like Erin Blanchfield, out of both of these women, has improved leaps and bounds since their first fight, where Tracy is the exact same fighter when they first fought. Right, so whenever we get these rematches, right, I mean, we saw Mackenzie Dern, I picked her to beat Jandiroba. She got the win over Jandiroba, came out, beat her once again. We normally see in WMMA a lot of the recent fights, whenever there's a rematch, usually the lady that loses gets their get back. And I think that that is an example that we're going to see here, because one of the mistakes that Blanchfield made in that fight was she was trying to play the bottom game too much, right? And I know that Tracy lost to, Thug Rose, and, Blanchfield beat Thug Rose. Styles make fights, man. Tracy scrambly on the floor, solid jiu-jitsu game. I think she's the better striker. She's clean, she's busy, but she doesn't really have a danger factor to where I think Blanchfield's just going to move into range and just kind of throw shots out there in order to get a hold of her, push her up against the fence, take her down. Blanchfield arguably could have won that first fight, man. She was being very active off of her back. She has a very, very good guard as well. She was throwing up submissions. I don't think she's going to make the same mistake that she made in that fight. She's going to look to get on top. She's going to look to chain things together. Her striking is still not that great, so it does worry me a little bit. I think Tracy is very live to pull off the upset here. But I don't know, man. I feel like Blanchfield's going to work her game, man. Like, yes, she lost to Manon Fiorot, but we know how good Fiorot is. And outside of that, I mean, she's beaten Talia Santos, submitting Jessica Andrade, subbing Molly McCann. I think Tracy's pretty good. I feel like she's a little bit underrated. She's at every UFC event, it seems, man. Traveling around, doing these photo ops. I just don't know how invested she is right now as a fighter. I think she's very skilled, and I think that this is going to be a competitive fight, but I am going to side with the more dedicated, what seems more dedicated, Erin Blanchfield, who's in the prime of her career right now, and I believe has improved far more than Tracy since fight number one. Tracy's the same fighter. I feel like Blanchfield has added new wrinkles to her game. I feel like her wrestling has gotten much better. I think she out-grapples Cortez and gets this one done in a close decision. I'll say 29-28, might even end up being split, but I'll go Blanchfield to get this one done. Because Cortez, if she could stop the takedowns, be a scrambly little rascal, I could see her outlanding Blanchfield on the feet and running up the points. All right, moving on, man, to the big fights here. We are going to the first fight of the main card. We got Sean Brady versus Michael Morales. I told you at the beginning of the video that this is, outside of the main event, the fight that I am looking forward to the most. And the reason for that is both of these guys are absolute savages, right? For Sean Brady to even take this fight is absolutely crazy, man. So risky, right? To me, this feels like high risk, high reward, to where if Brady can go out there and beat Michael Morales, an undefeated 18-0, one of the scariest prospects in all of the UFC right now. I call him the unicorn because he's just pretty much, he's like a physical specimen. Guy's massive for the weight class, very dynamic, very rangy. No one's been able to figure out the puzzle, and I feel like Sean Brady believes that he has the answers to the test to go out there and beat Michael Morales. I went back and forth on this fight a lot, man. I think that this is a 50-50 fight, to where if Sean Brady can get the fight to the floor, this is going to be his fight, right? Because if Sean Brady's got he's like a Spider-Man, right? He's got this web that he casts upon his opposition, right? He's got this very unique grappling system that he follows, right? He pushes you up against the fence, gets in your face. He's got very improved striking, backs you up, looks to crush the space, right? Spams a few kicks out there, holds that high guard. He wants to get in on the hips. He wants to take you down, and then he's got a system, right? If he can't just get you down with a single or a double, he will just, he'll just trip you and fall. He has no problem taking your back, no problem ending up on bottom to create a scramble to end up in the top position. So Sean Brady will do whatever it takes to get this fight to the floor, because he's not going to want to stand with Michael Morales. So I see a world where Sean Brady goes out here and he does what we saw against Leon Edwards, because this was the biggest win of his career. Goes out there, submits Leon Edwards, dominated him. His striking looked pretty good. He was having some moments on the feet against Leon Edwards, right? Takes him down. But again, we've seen that Leon Edwards kind of breaks when it comes to these pressure grapplers, right? It was what Belal was essentially able to do, but we know Sean Brady's more dangerous than Belal Muhammad when it comes to the ground game. Goes out there, out-grapples Gilbert Burns. Was not afraid to go out there and grapple with Gilbert Burns. We've seen a lot of grapplers not want to play that game. Sean Brady didn't care, went right after him. Goes out there, submits Kelvin Gastelum. Nobody really does that to Kelvin, dog. Goes out there, gets, beat up by Belal Muhammad on the feet and finished. That is a horrible look, right? It's one of those things where the grappling kind of cancels out. It ends up on the feet. I get it. That was 3 years ago. Sean Brady's improved, man, right? Beat Michael Chiesa by decision. We know what Sean Brady's game plan is going to be. He's going to want no parts of Michael Morales on the feet. Brady's going to look to pressure, get in his face, push him up against the fence and take him down. And there's a lot of questions about Morales. How good is this kid's ground game? How good is his ground game? right? And we've seen since he's came into the UFC, starched Adam Fugit, but ended up on his back. If that's Sean Brady, it just gets your mind jogging, right? Brady gets into a top position, gets into half guard. He's going to start raining down the ground and pound. That's going to open up his submission game. And Sean Brady doesn't rush anything. He's very methodical, very meticulous with his approach on the ground, right? Ground and pound, half guard play. Goes out there, beats Max Griffin by decision, but this is a kid. Michael Morales, man. He's improving every single fight. Jake Matthews, again, decision, but, goes out here, finishes Neil Magny. Magny pushed him up against the fence, was controlling him. Nasty finish, man. Goes out there, starches Neil Magny, and then, this fight was... It looked like this was, I don't know, man. Gilbert Burns shouldn't have been in there. Michael Morales looked like 10 times the size of Gilbert Burns in there. It almost looked like a joke. Morales was so much bigger than him. And that's what I've noticed. Morales is filled out into his frame. He doesn't look like a kid in there anymore. This is a real wicked athlete, man. And I got questions about his ground game. So we're going to find out about it in this very fight. But I struggle to see Sean Brady just relentlessly blanketing Morales on the ground. I don't know that he goes out there and just runs over Michael with the ground game, man. I don't know, and I've seen Michael Morales even in the Giles fight. He ends up on the floor. He ends up in these bottom positions, and it's like if that's Brady, it's probably game over. Probably. But I know Michael Morales has a wrestling background. I know he's done some judo. This guy is far better than Sean Brady on the feet. And I feel like one of the big weapons for Morales in this fight is going to be that wicked, nasty calf kick that really no one talks about. He's got some hellacious leg kicks, man. We saw Gary beat up Neil Magny's legs. Michael Morales threw 2 of them, and Neil Magny was already limping, switching stances. That's how hard this guy hits. Wouldn't shock me if we see Morales at 185 pounds at some point in his career. He's massive. He's very athletic. He's got a solid ground game. How good is it is the question. We're going to find out in this fight here. I am going to take a chance, and I'm going to pick Michael Morales in this fight, man. I think that he is going to knock out Sean Brady. And this is crazy, man, because may the best man win. I love both of these guys. I've been high on both of them. I'm a big fan of both guys. But I just don't know. I know Sean Brady's very dangerous. I know he's coming into his own, man. But I just can't help but feel like Michael Morales, like to me, if this fight's on the feet, it's just not close. The calf kicks are devastating. His power is nasty, right? And he loops, he gets a little bit wild, a little bit reckless, but it's kind of a technical chaos to where he's going to be landing uppercuts. He's got great variety with his shots, twitches his hand around, does some funky feints. Big, strong kid, man. Very confident, 18-0. Coming off of an easy victory over Gilbert Burns in a 5-round fight. And, people might question his cardio. We've seen him go 15 minutes before. This is a 15-minute fight. I know that Sean Brady is coming off of the biggest win of his career over Leon Edwards. And maybe Sean Brady, his ground game is just that elite, which I know it's elite. Maybe it is just that, so much far ahead of Michael Morales. Goes out there, exposes Michael Morales, gives him a check here. I don't know, man. I've had this weird feeling I was all on Sean Brady to win this fight, man. And then I keep getting these visions, these little haunting, visuals in my head of Michael Morales working back to his feet, shucking off these takedowns. And if that happens, we're going to see some discouragement on the side of Sean Brady. And Michael Morales, you can't play around with this guy on the feet, man. He's a far better striker than Brady. I know Brady's improved. I think those calf kicks are going to be a real weapon, man. They're going to hinder the movement of Brady. They're going to make it harder for him to explode into range. Morales is going to threaten with knees, big shots to the body. Brady holds that high guard. We're going to see those big overhands coming around the guard for Morales. I don't know, man. I feel like he's going to have some answers here, some shocking grappling answers for us in this fight. But if he doesn't, he is going to get exposed on the ground here by an elite grappler in Sean Brady. Sean Brady is elite. Massive risk for Brady to take this fight. I think the UFC is very high on a guy like Michael Morales. He's fun to watch. Brady's fun to watch on the ground. Nobody goes after Gilbert Burns with the grappling like that. Like I said, maybe Brady shows levels on the floor. I think Sean Brady can definitely submit Michael Morales. I'm kind of just banking on the fact that Morales' ground game is a little bit better than what people want to give it credit for. I like this kid on the feet, man. He's got a massive reach advantage. He's a unicorn. He's super athletic, strong. He has all the physical attributes, man. That's why I call him a unicorn. Wicked athlete, wicked power, confident, smooth, doesn't feel the moment, man. For a guy that's young, he was in that fight against Gilbert Burns, and he doesn't even flinch. Super calm. Does allow guys to pressure him a little bit and gets backed up to the cage, which could be a problem. I think he's going to have some answers for Sean Brady in this fight, man. And if he gets the fight back to his world, I don't even think it's close, man. To where I think on the ground game, while Brady is better, I think that gap is closer than him and Brady on the feet. I'm going to go Morales. I think he's an underdog coming into this one, or it's at least a close one. I'm going to go Michael Morales to get this one done. I'm rooting for both guys, man. Just want to sit back and enjoy this one. Got to make a pick, though. I'm going to go Michael Morales. I think those calf kicks are going to be a real problem, and the power is just different. I'm going to go with the unicorn. That is Michael Morales to go out there and beat Sean Brady. But if Sean Brady wins this fight, give him a title shot, man. Massive risk, massive reward. I don't know, man. I love this fight, man. Hate that I got to pick somebody, but I'm going to go Morales. Okay. We got Beneil Dariush versus Beniot Saint Denis. I went back and forth on this fight quite a bit because I think that Beneil Dariush is the better fighter. I think that he is better on the ground. I think he's scramblier. I think that he's a little bit more technical on the feet, a little bit better defensively. But at the same time, both guys kind of fight the same way. They throw these, winging shots, not a whole lot of defense on the feet, big winging leg kicks that are very telegraphed, right? They're almost kind of like mirror styles to a degree, right? But at the end of the day, we know that Beniot Saint Denis, his fights just don't go to decisions. Whether he wins or loses, someone is getting finished. So I think in this fight, this is actually going to be one of the most chaotic and entertaining fights on this card. I am tempted to pick Beneil Dariush to win this fight. And I picked him to beat Renato Moicano. And he went out there, got dropped early, got hurt. But then outside of that, he dominated Moicano in rounds 2 and 3. I think if Dariush comes out and fights a smart fight and grapples heavy, I actually think he wins this fight. I think that this is a very competitive fight, man. Another one I just want to sit back and enjoy, but I got to make a pick. I feel like this is one of those things where Beniot Saint Denis training with Nicholas Ott and that team with Nasruddin Imavov. I feel like Benoit is one of those guys. He was just kind of just going out there and just going to war, man. Going after guys, turning things into these slugfests. You hear him, he's like, I want to go to war. Have a great war, right? Goes out there looking like Oscar the Grouch. Hamburger face, looks like he smelled a fart or something, right? Benoit's a savage, man, right? And I feel like if Benny grapples heavy, he's going to put, Saint Denis on his back, and Saint Denis is not the same guy. Looks like a turtle on his shell, right? Kind of can't get up, squirming around. I worry about that for Saint Denis in this fight, man. But what we've seen from Benoit, right? Goes out there, starches Frevola with a head kick, got checked by Poirier, picked Dustin to knock him out and expose his bad boxing defense. Right, got butchered by Moicano on the ground, submits Kyle Prepolek, amazing win over Mauricio Rufy, shut down the hype of Rufy a little bit there by, pulling off the upset. This is one of those things where styles make fights. I know that Benny beat Renato Moicano and Moicano beat Dariush, so MMA math for you. I just feel like with Nicholas Ott in the corner of Beniot Saint Denis, they're going to have Benoit really tuned in and following a game plan in this fight. I think each guy takes a round. Maybe Dariush wins round 2. Benoit wins round 1. I think that this is a close fight, and the grit and the heart and the durability and just that warrior spirit that Benoit brings, I think now is the time to take advantage of Beneil Dariush, a guy that's almost 37. I know he looks like he's 65, right? Got the gray hair. He's got the wisdom. He's wise in there. And I like Dariush, man. And typically when he's an underdog, he balls out, right? Look what he did against Gamrot, man, putting on a great grappling performance, right? Out grappling him, surviving the scrambles, landing good shots on the feet, right? And I feel like Dariush is going to be able to take advantage of the bad defense of Saint Denis, right? His only losses recently, getting KO'd by Oliveira and Arman. Both of those guys beat Beniot Saint Denis. So at the end of the day, it's just one of those things where I feel like Benoit is getting that next opportunity against a name at the top of the weight class. I feel like he cashes in this time on the opportunity. And a lot of that, I think, has to do with his now coach, Nicholas Ott. I think they're going to come in with a smart game plan. There's going to be time to brawl, but I think that they're going to come out, push the pace, get in the face of Benny, throw those big shots. I think we see an absolute chaotic fight here. I'm going to say that Benoit lands a big shot in round number 3 and is able to stop Beneil Dariush, man. But it's crazy because I think Dariush is actually the better fighter. It's just one of those things. The way that this fight matches up, I can see Saint Denis landing the more damaging shots and getting Dariush out of there a little later. Maybe we see Benoit go to his first decision. I think that this is an amazing stylistic matchup. Don't write off Dariush. I definitely think that he could get this one done if he fights smart. But I think Benoit is going to be very prepared for this fight, man. Going to throw leg kicks. That high kick is a little bit negated because they're both southpaws. I think we see a little bit more boxing from both guys. Both guys have bad defense. I think Benoit is a little bit more durable than Benny at this point in his career. I don't know, man. I want to see Benoit get the victory and do that six celly where, go with the pistol, man. The little celebration that he had with the rifle and the pistol celebration. That was badass, man. He's a hoss. I like Benoit Saint Denis. I like Dariush. May the best man win. Give me Benoit Saint Denis to go out there and get a stoppage in round number 3. All right, we got what I believe is the featured fight here in Leon Edwards versus Carlos Prates. A lot of people are writing off Leon Edwards in this fight, and I don't feel like you can do that, man, because he's kind of been down grappler's row for his past several fights, right? I know he lost to Usman earlier in his career, but as of late, goes out there getting dominated, losing the fight, amazing come from behind KO victory over Usman in the last round, set that head kick up, it was picture perfect. Goes out there, outclasses Usman in the rematch, had the answers to shut down the grappling, outscored him on the feet, goes out there, beats the brakes off of Colby Covington. Then he loses to Belal Muhammad and Sean Brady, right? And they both kind of fought him the same way, pressure grappling, put the pace on him. That is where Leon struggles. This is a different matchup. Carlos Prates is the nightmare, man. And it's the perfect nickname for him. Kind of moves a little bit like Poatan in there, right? This long, lanky frame in the welterweight division, right? Long limbs. He's just got one of those, bodies where he's torquing and ripping on these shots and just has a different kind of power, man, right? He's got a striking background, Muay Thai based. You very much see it on display, man. And I think in this fight, this excites Leon to prepare for this one, man. So I expect to see a version that we haven't seen of Leon in quite some time because it's been a while since Leon's fought a striker, man. He's been preparing constantly for guys to come after him and try to take him down. And don't forget, he went out there and controlled Nate Diaz on the ground, was able to take him down. I know it's Nate. Nate's had issues with wrestling, but Leon Edwards is a good grappler. He even took down Kamaru Usman, got on top of him, right? Was able to out-wrestle Colby in moments, right? His ground game has improved. Leon Edwards, in my opinion, is a more complete fighter than Carlos Prates, and I think Leon's going to try to fight him a very similar way that we saw Ian Machado Gary. Try to mix in the grappling, try to just keep Prates guessing. I think Leon's ground game might be better than Ian Gary. So I think if Leon comes into this and mixes things up and grapples a little bit, I think he could definitely pull this one off. And he's got good feints. He's a very smooth, technical Muay Thai-based striker, nasty elbows, very good kicks, good feints. And I think he's going to make Prates a little bit hesitant, man. And don't be shocked if Leon goes out there and wins this fight, man, because he's very smooth. I think you'd see him countering Prates. When Prates is a little bit too aggressive, I could see him taking him down, really kind of controlling him there. But it's kind of hard to pick against Carlos Prates right now. And considering that Leon, throughout his career, if you think about it, he really hasn't fought a high-level striker, right? Throughout his career, it's been a lot of grapplers, right? The only guys that he's really fought that I guess you could say, Nate Diaz has got, decent MMA boxing, right? But again, Nate, not a particularly outstanding striker, more of a jiu-jitsu guy. Vicente Luque and Cowboy, years ago. That's basically all we've really seen Leon in terms of, solid guys on the feet. I know Usman's pretty good on the feet, and I get all that. But Prates is a totally different dude, man. I think Carlos Prates is going to go out there, and I think that he's actually going to win this fight. I'm going to say by a decision. Maybe he just does knock out Leon Edwards. Maybe he just has the answers. Maybe Leon is kind of cooked, right? Starts to doubt himself. Prates, lands a big shot on him, and we just kind of, see, the tide turn, and Prates is able to put him away. But I got more respect for Leon Edwards' skills than maybe other people will, man. I think that this is actually going to be a very competitive fight. I think it's going to be competitive. Like I said, maybe Prates does knock him out because I think he's very capable. I think Prates is going to have to work for this one a little more than what people might think. Leon's got that feint game, man. I think he's going to freeze Prates a little bit, right? And I know that Prates went out there, nasty spinning elbow KO as basically the buzzer sounded in round one against Neal, right? The Gary loss. I think he's learned a lot from that one, man. That was, shorter notice, 5-rounder. Gary moves a lot more than Leon Edwards. He's taller, he's rangier, he's an orthodox style of opponent. Very, very different style of matchup, right? You got to kind of track him down to where Leon's a little bit more flat-footed, right? Starts Neil Magny, starts to Leach and put that nasty Neil and Radke and got him out of there. The reason that I feel comfortable picking Prates in this fight is obviously he's got the momentum, he's dangerous, he's powerful. We know Leon's coming off of the losses, but Carlos, to me, has all the answers for what Leon is going to do. Prates is rangy, right? I know Leon's an inch taller than him, which is kind of crazy. Prates looks taller than 6'1". Prates has the reach advantage. He's a guy that doesn't just bank on power. He's one of those guys that just naturally hits hard. He just flicks a jab out there and it hits harder than some guys, backhands, man. Like, that's just the way that this guy is built. I think he's going to utilize the range, right? He can be busy. He can put up points. He can play the range game. He can throw those calf kicks out there. Not a lot of telegraph on him. I think he'll attack the lead leg of Leon Edwards. I expect Leon to switch stances. He does it pretty well. I think he's going to try to attack the legs of Prates as well. Very competitive fight here, man. But I think that Prates' power is going to be the difference. And it's going to put a little bit of caution in the mind of Edwards. I think Leon's going to kind of grapple, look to grapple in this fight. we've seen Prates get taken down and work back to his feet. I feel like his ground game has improved. He's working over, with the fighting nerds, Bahalio. They're going to have him prepared, I think, on the ground for this fight. While Leon's a good grappler, he's not an amazing grappler, right? It's not like, oh man, we got to really worry here. Leon's good, but it's not that big of a threat, in my opinion, in this fight. Prates has the answers. He can fight him at range. He can bang him up with big shots from the outside, pick him apart with the calf kicks, right? And then if Leon gets, because he's going to be shorter, with the reach, he's going to have to try to get to the inside. That's where Prates can make you pay with knees and elbows as well. That knee to the, to the liver is absolutely nasty. Edwards is good and close as well. Got a good clinch game, nasty knees. Very intrigued by this matchup, man. Big fight for Leon Edwards. His back is to the wall here. Excited to see if he can bounce back in this fight. Maybe Prates just does KO him, right? And he just, mows over Edwards. And it's like, Edwards, it's just, we see him get hit. And it's just kind of like, okay, this isn't the same Leon. Prates is the real deal, man. I think he has to work for this one a little more than what people might think coming into this. I got respect for Leon's skills, man. This is a striker. I think he's going to be very motivated for this fight. Even though Prates is very dangerous, I feel like it's encouraging for Leon knowing that, if we're going to grapple, it's basically going to be on my terms in this fight. I think that does something for him mentally. I think Leon's got to kind of dig himself out of that rut. It's going to be tough to do against, while it's not a grappler, it's probably the most dangerous striker right now at welterweight. And Prates, give me Carlos to go out there and win a 29-28 decision. I think Leon can land some shots and grapple a little bit in this fight to have a little success. But I think Prates is going to land the more damaging shots. And like I said, wouldn't be shocked if Prates just goes out there and knocks him out. Co-main event, we have Valentina Shevchenko versus Zhang Weili. This is a good one, man. This is a very good one, and I'm very intrigued to see how this plays out because I'm a massive fan. These are two of my favorite women's fighters of all time, and like I said, a lot at stake here, right? Some big fights on the horizon. Maybe, depending on how good this fight is, we could see an immediate rematch between the two. This is interesting because Valentina Shevchenko came into the UFC and it was all about her Muay Thai. It was about her striking. It was about kind of that flat-footed, methodical Muay Thai style. The knees, the elbows, the kicks, right? It was a very pretty style to where now she's really developed into a full-blown MMA fighter. She's got solid wrestling, good jiu-jitsu skills, and really just became a complete MMA fighter, right? And that's what you've seen throughout her fights, man. I mean, going out there and this win is aged like fine wine, dude. Going out there and being able to control Blanchfield on the ground, I can't tell you how impressive that is, man. And I'll pick Valentina basically in every single fight, man, right? And for her to go out there, I picked her in this one as well. I was shocked at how good she was on the ground against Fierro because what do we know about Fierro? Brick wall takedown defense, right? Super rangy, dangerous striker, just knocked out Jasdavicius, and Jasmine's a great grappler, had no answers for Manon Fierro as well. That's how good Shevchenko's ground game is, right? Goes out there, beats Grasso, and what a joke of a trilogy this was, man. Went out there, was beaten up on Grasso, lapse in judgment, got submitted. This was a win for Valentina Shevchenko. The disastrous scorecards, goes out there, shows levels in the rematch. Again, kind of a snoozer. Beats Talia Santos. We've seen some close fights from Valentina Shevchenko. She's became very dependent upon her grappling, man. She has, and she's a little flat-footed on the feet. She's got some good kicks. I think in this fight, she's going to try to use her range, man, right? She's slightly taller, got a slight reach advantage here. She's going to try to play the range game. But the way that Valentina grapples is she kind of hides the grappling behind her striking. So she's going to have success on the feet first, I think, in order to be able to get a hold of a short and stout, Zhang Weili, right? And Zhang Weili on the other side, I mean, she's just as fun as it gets, man. Like, how can you not like Zhang Weili, right? She's super dangerous, right? The amazing fights with, Yana Jędrzejczyk, going out there and beating Joanna, right? Goes out there and finishes Carla Esparza, beats Amanda Lemos, who's a heavy hitter, right? Goes out there, beats Yan Xiaonan, who's a very sophisticated striker. Goes out there, beats Suarez. And I picked, Weili in all these fights, man, and people are like, Suarez, right? She's the next big thing, right? She's going to go out there and show levels on the ground against Zhang Weili. Zhang Weili shucked off those takedowns, man. Yes, Suarez was able to get her down, but Zhang Weili's ground game has gotten so much better. And I know Thug Rose was able to hurt her with a high kick, so that concerns me a little bit because I could see Valentina, it's an open stance battle, orthodox on southpaw, to where that back kick becomes a serious weapon for Valentina in this fight. And if she starts throwing it to the leg and to the body, you got to watch if you're Weili of dropping that hand and Shevchenko setting that thing up upstairs and clipping her with a high kick. So I could see Shevchenko doing that. I could see Valentina's grappling, just, kind of winning her this fight, controlling Zhang on the ground. But I don't know that happens, man. I think that the little ball of muscle who's out here picking up Francis Ngannou, picking up Shaquille O'Neal, I think Zhang Weili's hands are fast, man. She's powerful, she's dangerous, and she has also improved her ground game quite a bit, man. She's got some nice wrestling of her own. Is she going to out-grapple Valentina? I'm not so sure. Maybe it neutralizes. It's going to be the kicking of Valentina and the hands of Weili, I think, in this fight. I think it's a very competitive fight. Maybe it's a split decision, but I am going to go Zhang Weili to get this one done and win her second UFC title here, man. I think she's spectacular, man. She's going to become double champ. I think here, I like her style, man. She's physically strong. She's powerful. She's on a crazy win streak. And I think Valentina Shevchenko, while I don't think she slowed down a lot, I think she slowed down a little bit, man, to where Zhang Weili, they're very similar in age. I feel like Weili is improving. She's getting better, and we're seeing more speed and power on her side than we are for Shevchenko. I think Valentina is going to have to lean on those kicks and the grappling a lot in this fight. I think she gets Weili down. Is she able to keep her there? I'm not so sure that happens, man. I think this is very even. To me, it's almost like a coin flip, but I'm going to side with my favorite WMMA fighter and Zhang Weili. I think that her boxing and takedown defense and strength and just sheer will is going to get this one done over a slightly slowed down Valentina Shevchenko. I think it's a super close fight, probably going to be a little controversial whichever way the decision goes. I think that it is going to be a split decision. Zhang Weili getting this one done. Later lady skill, man. Next, well, last but not least, man, we have arrived at the main event of the evening. I got to take a drink, dog. We have one of the best fights the UFC could put together right now, and that is Jack Della Maddalena defending his welterweight title against Islam Makhachev. Islam moving up from 155 pounds to the welterweight division, and there's a lot of questions when fighters do that, right? This isn't like, we're seeing a 35er, move up to 45. This isn't a 10-pound jump, man. This is a 15-pound jump. Now, we all know that Islam's massive. He's always been a massive lightweight. We've heard that his weight cuts are difficult. I feel like that has something to do with maybe some of their performances. Maybe he's been a little compromised. I don't know. We're going to find out come fight night. I expect these guys to look very similar in terms of the stature, right? JDM slightly taller, has a couple inch reach advantage here. It's such an interesting stylistic matchup, man. Two of my favorite fighters in the UFC right now. I'm a huge fan of Islam, big fan of Jack. I love his style. JDM looked damn good in this Belal Muhammad fight, man. Going out there, we saw the improved takedown defense. We've really seen that throughout his career. At 29 years of age, he is constantly improving, right? His boxing is spectacular, fluently can switch stances, can, box out of both sides, right? Good jab, whether he's in southpaw orthodox. And the way that he angles off and lands that backhand, it's very sniper-like, man. And the way that he kind of operates is death by 1,000 paper cuts. He's going to go out there and he's just going to kind of sting. And, the question is, that's typically JDM's style, is the volume. But how is Islam, who's coming up to his weight class, being the guy that, he's going to fill out well, but hasn't felt that welterweight power in a UFC fight? Is it going to be where when Jack is landing these shots, Islam feels it more than the other opponents that JDM has fought? That's a possibility. I think that this is so interesting, man. This is so interesting, man. And I've had such a hard time picking this fight because JDM, the improvements, right? He starts, damn near knocked out Randy Brown, followed him to the floor and submitted him, right? The Basil Hafez fight, Hafez just laid on him. JDM cut weight multiple times or whatever it was coming into this fight. We didn't see the best version of him. Goes out there, outstrikes Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland, that was pretty good 2 years ago, that was locked in. Getting controlled a little bit on the ground, comes back, knees Gilbert Burns, right? I think JDM hurt his arm in that fight as well. And then the Belal fight was amazing. That was kind of the, whoa, look how good JDM is, going out there and outstriking Belal Muhammad, stuffing the takedowns. A lot of people will say, well, Belal didn't stick to his game plan. And sure, he should have attacked the grappling early. But a lot of that was Jack was utilizing great movement. He was keeping the jab busy in Belal's face. He was disrupting the timing and he was affecting Belal, being able to close him down. And the way that JDM kind of has aided his takedown defense is he dips levels down, tucks his chin, and he's already basically halfway almost into a sprawl to where he's changing levels, and it almost discourages you from shooting those takedowns. And that's what Belal was running into. Kind of a wall that JDM has set up, right? Drops his hands a little bit so he can dig for the underhooks, brings his guard down, and almost kind of headbutts, not headbutts, but, bulldozes right into the grappling attack of a guy like Belal Muhammad. The issue that I have for Jack in this fight is Belal and Gilbert Burns are not Islam. They're just not, dog. Right, I know that Belal is more of a pressure-based wrestler with decent boxing, but he doesn't have a ton of power. I know he knocked out Sean Brady, but Islam Makhachev, in my opinion, is a far better striker than Belal Muhammad. He's got great knees, great kicks, decent boxing of his own, right? He outboxed Dustin Poirier, right? And I feel like Islam was not himself in that fight, right? He clearly, to me, looked like he wasn't himself. And, right, I mean, when you go out there and you submit Charles Oliveira to win the belt. You rock him and drop him and submit him with an arm triangle. Damn impressive. Go out there and beat a prime Alexander Volkanovski. I think that is probably the best win on Islam's resume, honestly, man. I mean, prime Volk is one of the best MMA fighters we've ever seen. He's the featherweight GOAT, man. Goes out there in the rematch, short notice for Volkanovski, clips him with a high kick, beautifully timed, beautifully set up. Goes out there, it was a little bit more of a dogfight at moments, but it was really Islam just outstriking Dustin Poirier, right? I know Islam was wearing some damage, but he was comfortably winning this fight, pushing through the, kind of just the sloppiness that was going on. It felt like Islam was just not necessarily himself and finds that incredible Darce choke late in the fight, and then he's coming off of an easy victory over Moicano. It was supposed to be Arman Sarukian. Nobody runs through Moicano like that, man. And for me in this fight, I can see this going a couple different ways. I can see Jack Della Maddalena, he's working with Craig Jones, right? We know that when Craig comes into camp and he's got Volkanovski helping him, and Volkanovski's fought Islam before, they're going to be giving Jack some very, very good notes. They're going to be really helping him prepare for this fight. So I see the side where JDM's ground game is going to be very prepared because he's a scrambling little rascal on the ground, man, right? He moves, he's wiry, he doesn't accept being on the bottom and just, let you kind of ride him out and win a decision that way. That's really not how he operates. He's scrambly. He's trying to always, Grammy roll, move around, trying to get back to his feet to where he can start to light you up on the feet with his hands. If JDM gets antsy in this fight, he's going to pay for it, and I think he's going to get submitted by Islam Makhachev. But then I see the other side to where Jack, even if he does get taken down, stays safe, comfortably, is able to get back to his feet when he feels that he is in a safe spot, defends against the submission attempts, because when you scramble, you open up, those opportunities for submissions, and there's nobody really better in the UFC right now outside of a Chimaev, Oliveira, and Makhachev. So you got to be careful in this fight if you're Jack. I think if this stays on the feet for 25 minutes, if I had a guarantee, as good of a striker as Islam is, I feel like Jack's hands are ahead of Islam Makhachev to where he could outstrike him. The angles, slightly more power. I think Jack can definitely win this fight, man. I feel like he's always been underrated. I've been high on JDM. I think that he can go out there and outstrike Islam Makhachev and get this one done. But here's the problem I have. 25 minutes, massive moment, Madison Square Garden, when the lights are shining the brightest, that's when Islam Makhachev shows up, man. That is when he goes out there and he puts on his best performances, right? And he's coming up here, right? So do we see the lighter fighter skill on display? The lighter man skill, dog. Do we see that on display? Everyone's talking about, JDM working with Craig Jones. Unquestioned, obviously it's going to help him. Volkanovski and JDM have already had good ground games before, right? Volkanovski had a great ground game. Greg came in. He was able to survive on the ground and do actually very well against Islam Makhachev. JDM, I don't know that he's as good as Volk on the ground, right? Maybe more scrambly, better maybe submission game of his own. But Volkanovski's got that low center of gravity. He's a ball of muscle, good footwork, the movement, and he's fast, right? A prime Volkanovski's a nightmare to try to take down, man. Nobody does it. So for Islam to even get him down to me was impressive. I don't know that JDM is as good on the ground as Volkanovski is my question. I know he's scrambly, right? So you could say that in terms of the jiu-jitsu game, he's a little bit better there for sure. The leverage is a big factor, man. Taking down short guys like Volkanovski who are very physically strong and skate around with all this footwork, that is a hard assignment, man, for a tall, big guy like Islam. It just is. So my prediction, I'm going to say that Islam Makhachev gets this one done, man. I think that he is going to find a submission in the round number 4. I think it's going to be late in this fight. I don't know. I see so many scenarios, man, and that's why I love this fight. I love both guys. May the best man win, man. Like I said, it kills me that I got to make picks on this card, man, to a degree, because I just want to sit back and just enjoy these fights. They're so dang good. I think I see the scenario to where JDM can stop the takedowns, get back to the feet, bust Islam up. I just feel like we're going to see this new monster unleashed at welterweight, man. Islam's going to be happy. He's not draining himself with the weight cut. He's going to be big. He's going to be strong. I think he's going to have more sting on his shots as well. And the way that JDM has kind of improved that takedown defense while he's scrambling on the ground, part of that is dipping his hands a little bit lower to shoot to get those underhooks, bringing down his level to be able to kind of bulldoze, that takedown. Islam grapples different, man. He doesn't have the pressure that those guys do. He's more technical, so it's going to be interesting to see how Islam closes the distance against him. Not exactly something we always have to see Islam do, but when you're dipping your head like that, if you're Jack, I know Jack's very durable. I see the opportunity for, Coach Habib and Javier Mendez to sit there and go, okay, look, if we're on the feet, man, let's throw knees and head kicks when we're feinting those level changes. If Jack changes levels and dips, anticipating a takedown, let's throw those knees and high kicks, man. And I think that there's a real shot that Islam could land one of those and hurt JDM and follow him to the floor and get some sort of submission. So I think that that's a possibility that we see here. But I think it's going to be a dogfight, man. I think Islam's really going to have to work for this. I think JDM is really going to have to work for this. This is a chess match. At the highest level, it's going to be very competitive. I think it's going to be, a super competitive fight coming into round 4. But like I say about Charles Oliveira, in a lot of his fights, if you're going to be scrambling around on the ground with a guy as dangerous as Islam and there's 25 minutes to work with, it's hard to see Islam not locking in a submission, man. It just really is. Maybe Islam wins a decision. I could see Jack finding a stoppage on the feet because he is damn good, man. Jack is for real. He's absolutely for real. This might be the hardest fight of Islam's career. Prime Volkanovski fight the first time. That was the hardest. This one is right up there, man. I'm not sure which one's the hardest, to be honest with you. I think Jack has a little bit more variety on the feet to where Volk is a harder guy to take down. I'm going to say that Islam, I think Jack's going to make a mistake. I feel like he's going to be very, very good early. We're going to start to see both guys get a little bit fatigued. We get into those championship rounds, and I think that it is going to come down to a scramble, or Islam is going to throw a head kick or a knee as Jack changes levels. We're going to see both guys a little bit fatigued just from the dogfight that it's going to be, that I think. And then I think Islam is going to be able to, in a scramble, lock in a submission. Again, I think JDM's takedown defense has gotten way better. Training with Craig, they're going to be drilling the hell out of these positions to stay safe. But at the end of the day, all it takes is one mistake against Islam, man. These guys that Islam is submitting are lifelong grappling practitioners. I know Moicano isn't that great, but he's been doing jiu-jitsu his whole damn life. And Islam made him look like he's never grappled a day in his life, man. So I think JDM puts up a fight here. I think that this is a super competitive fight. I think we see back and forth this thing. I think Jack rings Islam. I think Islam might be able to ring him. I give JDM the edge on the feet. But again, you have to worry with Islam. It's not just the grappling. People are like, well, it's a grappler versus striker. While Jack might be a step ahead on the feet, Islam is still very good on the feet, man. Very good kicks, very good knees. Going to be interesting to see how he closes the distance because he's not exactly a pressure wrestler. Does his best work up against the fence, right? Getting into the clinch, his judo, his trips, his sweeps. Right, that's really Islam's bread and butter. So if Jack keeps his back off the fence, I think he's going to keep the jab in Islam's face, change up the levels, change up the angles, try to use that thing as a piston to deter Islam Makhachev and annoy him, man. And I think he's going to bust his face up. I think that this is going to be a very competitive fight, man. Very, very competitive fight. Cannot wait to see how this plays out. May the best man win. I'm not going to pick against greatness in this fight, man. I'm not going to pick against greatness. I think Islam Makhachev goes out there, and in the championship rounds, I think Jack is going to make a mistake. As good as he's been in the, we know he's training with Craig in the training room. He's looked great in a lot of his fights. We see him make mistakes on the ground. If you make one of those against Islam, I just feel like Makhachev is going to make you pay for it, man. But I think it's a dog fight. I don't know, man. I cannot wait for this fight, man. I've been so back and forth on this one. Rooting for both guys. It's an amazing matchup. I think Islam goes out there and finds a submission late in this fight, man. But if you guys enjoyed this video, my voice is about checked out, man. Super excited. I know I yapped a lot. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Give it a like. Let me know what you think down in the comments. And if you're new, if you could sub to the channel, I would greatly appreciate it, man. See you next time.